Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my channel again. I'm Tassos, and let's have a real talk. So last night, after I came back home, I kinda knew that I had to make a video. I kinda wanted to make a video, but at the same time, I wasn't really up to it. I couldn't see straight, I couldn't think straight. I was kind of angry, and in general, I didn't have the right mindset. And that pretty much works the same for every one of us, I'd like to think, because we all have rough days, right? You know, it could have been like a bad day at work, or maybe your girlfriend that started shouting to you for no reason and now she's your ex, or maybe you didn't sleep the right way, or maybe your favorite team lost last night, or whatever. It could be a multitude of reasons, okay? But you had this rough day and you just can't function the right way. So what do? Well, according to a very legit research that I have conducted after having interviewed a friend of mine, I have come to the conclusion that you can't really play video games if you had a bad day when you get back home. You don't believe me? Check this out. Hey man, you wanna know what? After I have a bad day at work, or a bad day in general, I don't wanna play video games. And there's actually plenty of reasons for that. You don't believe me? Again, check that very legit interview. And you wanna know why? There's plenty of reasons for that. So it's official. People, after having a rough day, it doesn't matter if it was because of work or because of their ex-girlfriends or whatever, they don't want to play video games. But why is that? Let me tell you why it is. Because you have the wrong kind of library of games at home, dude. What you need to do is vent your anger. Relieve your stress that's been accumulating the entire day deep down inside you. How are you gonna do that? There's only one way to do that. Is play games from a genre that is half dead today, hopefully not whole dead, and that was very prevalent in the 90s. And of course I'm talking about beat 'em ups. Okay, 2.5D action beating hoodlums in the streets. That's what I'm talking about. Or at least that's the first thing that pops to mind when you talk to me about beat 'em ups. Today I'm gonna give you more than a few suggestions of beat 'em ups, home console beat 'em ups that you can play today and absolutely use to vent your anger, and they can serve that specific purpose of relieving your stress. So without further ado, let's go to my hot suggestions, my hot picks on beat 'em ups. And remember, this is not a top 5. All the games I'm gonna mention are absolutely equal to me, except that last pick I'm keeping for you. So without further ado, let's go to my first suggestion, which is none other than Streets of Rage. The one I'm holding right now is Streets of Rage Part 2, and it's my absolute favorite. This is, like I said, 2.5D action beating hoodlums in the streets. Absolutely great gameplay, top-notch graphics for the time, and the music by Yuzo Koshiro. I don't even have to talk about that. I'm too small to talk about that guy. So Streets of Rage is awesome, and you know what's even more awesome on the series is that we got Streets of Rage 4 in 2020 for PS4, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox One, which is an amazing and phenomenal beat 'em up. Crazy good graphics, the music again is stellar, the controls are freaking awesome, and the game itself is a prime example of why this genre just refuses to die. You can still find it, you can still play it, you can still buy it. Go ahead, you know, if you have a PS4, an Xbox One or whatever, a Switch. I think it's on PC also. Go ahead and play it, download it, buy it. It's worth it. My personal favorite out of this series, of course, is Streets of Rage 2 on the Sega Genesis, and oh my god, stage 7, level 7, the elevator stage, with that music hitting on the back. Oh my god, I can feel the blast processing on this one. I'm not even joking about that. So what if you wanna take it up a notch? What if you don't just wanna beat the shit out of hoodlums in the streets? What if you wanna see, your enemies fly off the screen or bounce off the sides of the screen? What if you want to be absolutely sadistic to them, using some crazy infinite loop combos, not letting them hit the ground? Well, have I got the game for you? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge. Look at that. Look at that VHS beauty. Oh my god. This is a game that was made for each and every one of us that grew up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I am a huge fan of TMNT Turtles in Time, and I must tell you that this game is everything that game was plus one on every department. You can play, you can have a crazy multiplayer mode up to 6 people. Do you understand that? Up to 6 people. And believe me, we've played up to 4 people, and it was pretty hectic, pretty chaotic in a good way. And the game is phenomenal. It's a beat 'em up. Okay, it's not the deep meaning of life, but really there's something super exhilarating about the game. You can beat the shit out of the foot soldier, bounce them off the walls, do some crazy shit, use some infinite loop combos, and it's excellent. And of course, it's mad crazy to be able to play as Casey Jones. You lawbreakers. The graphics in this game are pixel art, reminiscent of those old days, of those old school beat 'em ups that we used to play as kids. Don't let me start talking about the music, because the music is like, oh my god, some 80s gems in there, especially on the stage, on the level above New York, where you fly above New York. That song is crazy. I wouldn't even have to talk about that. You know what? Just go ahead and play that game. I guarantee you it's lots of fun, and it is really exhilarating. You will vent your anger. You will relieve tons of stress. With all that being said and done though, there are bad days and bad days that are a lot more bad than just bad days. And by that I mean, there might be a chance you get such a bad day that you don't really want anyone around you, you don't want to socialize, you have that mean look in your eyes, you want to get nasty. You don't want to just make your opponents bounce off the sides of the screen. No, you want to get brutal. And do I have a choice for you? And that is Splatterhouse Part 3. For all those that know me for quite a while and been on the channel for quite a while, they know that I love the Splatterhouse series. And Splatterhouse Part 3 is a beat 'em up that can really get you going if you are in that kind of mood. Can really help you relieve that stress, believe me. The game is really graphic, like you beat the shit out of demons this time around, and it gets to a point where you can actually beat the shit out of them just by hitting them with your head, which is absolutely horrifying and so badass at the same time. You can go beast mode and choke your opponents or give them some gut punches. You can kick them and punch them and use various weapons like bats and do-by-4s. Oh my god, there's so many things that you can do in this game. And again, the game is really graphic. Like, you get this demon, and he has this round shaped head, and you beat the shit out of him until his eye just falls out of his eye socket. It's so graphic. Oh my god, this game is gruesome. The only weakness I can think of when talking about this game is that although it is a beat 'em up, it doesn't have a 2-player mode, and bad, yeah, to say the least, but at the same time, for a beat 'em up, Splatterhouse Part 3 tries to be a little different, and by that I mean it has this exploration element where you have to investigate each and every room there is, gather power-ups and extra lives. It would really help. And the game itself has a timer that whatever happens involving that timer gives you the possibility of 3 possible endings. So yeah, the game for a beat 'em up is pretty elaborate if you ask me. Also, if that copy of Splatterhouse, of the remake of Splatterhouse, ever falls in your hands for a good price, you might want to check it out. I think it was unfairly judged and panned by critics. Not to mention, the original Splatterhouse trilogy is in here as an unlockable feature. So you can pretty much play the original Splatterhouse trilogy on this disc for the PlayStation 3. It was also released for the Xbox, but yeah, I've seen some outrageous prices a couple of years back, but I don't know if that is a thing today. It might, the prices might have gone down. So if you ever have the chance to get a copy of that, just try it. It's just as good, believe me. So before I get to my hot number 1 pick, which it's kind of surprising, because I don't see many people talk about that. Let me get 2 honorable mentions first, and the very first one is Batman Returns, made by Konami for the Super Nintendo, and oh my god, this game is absolutely amazing. The graphics are top notch, the music is top notch, the presentation is top notch, like pretty much everything in this game. But there is a huge minus, of course, and this is why this is an honorable mention, because unlike Splatterhouse 3 that actually has an exploration element that gives you 3 possible endings, trying to be a little bit more elaborate, this one does not do that, and doesn't have 2-player mode. It's still a beat 'em up, so I think it would have more chance to be in the list if it actually had a 2-player mode. I don't know what they would do that, because the actual movie Batman Returns doesn't have Robin in it or someone else that could actually help. So yeah, I don't know how they could do that, but this is a huge minus when we're talking beat 'em ups, that not being able to play to have a 2-player mode. But this one is like, it's a wild beat 'em up, and I like the sound effects. Like you can feel like the punches, you can hear the punches, like you can feel it. Like they go like BAM, and Batman does these crazy good moves where I don't know if you can even see that. Like I don't know if it can focus. You can barely see it, I think, in this shot over here. He grabs 2 goons and smashes their heads together. He does stuff like that, or throw him on lampposts and stuff like that. The game is really wild. It's a really crazy good beat 'em up, but it's just 1 player, and it doesn't have as much variety as Splatterhouse 3 per se. So yeah, it's an honorable mention. An honorable mention nevertheless, but another honorable mention. It doesn't get to be in the list. And my second honorable mention, I've done a video on that very recently. It's Alien Storm on Sega Mega Drive. I have this game like on a compilation cartridge. It's not exactly compilation. It's like a 6-in-1 cartridge that it was. There were actually 3 different cartridges that were like 6-in-1 for the Sega Mega Drive, released back in the 90s. And one of them had Alien Storm in there, and oh my god, I remember playing this like for the first time many years ago. I bet it was like more than 20 years ago, and when I played it I was like, holy shit, this game is really cool. And I maintained that idea of the game actually being cool to this day, because I remember having lots of fun playing it with my friends, and it's a beat 'em up that actually mixes up things, so I think it's very special for doing that. You get different kind three different playable characters. I like to beat to pick the robot character because it uses each and every part of its body as a weapon, and it's really funny. It's really hilarious. The aliens are like, oh my god, they look horrendous. They look like really butt ugly. Like they're so detailed. Some of them have some crazy faces on their sides. They swallow you up. They do some nasty stuff, and they're absolutely disgusting. And what kept me from picking this game for this list though is that while it is technically a beat 'em up, it doesn't really feel like a physical beat 'em up. You don't really get to punch the aliens, or if it is like that, you just give a couple of punches. Most of the time, you're hitting them with some kind of weapon, and it just eludes this thing of being like, physical, like a knee to the stomach or something like that. So you don't get to do that this much. So mostly you're using weapons. So that kind of pushed me not to include it on this list because this doesn't feel as exhilarating as, let's say, Streets of Rage, even though I feel that as a complete game, Alien Storm is a much more complete one because it has more variety. I really feel that. But on that department, if I had a bad day and I came back from work and I just wanted to vent my anger or something, I would probably pick Streets of Rage rather than Alien Storm. Every game has its time. So, enough with the honorable mentions. Let's go to my top pick. Most of people wouldn't guess why or how I would do that. But the game I want to suggest is Return of Double Dragon. And I'm holding this upside down so just so you could see the sticker. I got this with a sticker upside down for some reason. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that inside it's not Return of Double Dragon. It's actually Super Double Dragon. It's the same game, quote unquote, as like the game. It was called like Super Double Dragon in the US, and Return of Double Dragon, it was called that in Japan. It was technically the same game, even though Return of Double Dragon is a much more complete game. It has less flaws, and the Super Double Dragon was kind of a rushed product, but we're not gonna go to that right now because it doesn't really matter. What really matters for me is the gameplay. So remember what we said, like you had a rough day. You felt like as if the entirety of the day, life itself was trying to hit you. But with this game, you let your opponent try to hit you. You know what you're doing? You grab that fist mid-air. You hold down the hand and you punish your opponent so bad. Like, you can do pretty much everything. Like, you can elbow your opponent in the face, you can back fist him in the face, you can throw a knee in the stomach, or this nasty kicks that go like oh my god, you can do so many crazy things in this game, and it's so freaking satisfying. The sound effects, like, they sound like real punches. You can really feel them. You can have nunchucks in the game, a multitude of weapons. It gets nuts. And what's really the only thing that I can think of that's kind of bad on Super Double Dragon versus Return of Double Dragon, which is, again, technically the same game, but it kind of feels like a little bit rushed, like towards the end of it. But until you get there, until you get to the end, is a wild experience, and you would really love to play it, especially with a friend of yours. It's maybe, out of these that I have suggested so far, it's maybe the most technical beat 'em up there is, because of that parry department. They have this whole parry system where you can actually stop your opponent's attacks and use them against them. And oh my god, it feels so exhilarating. It feels so satisfying playing this game. You can do all sorts of moves. You can hold down the tension button and do that trademark helicopter kick. You can hold it down until the meter fills up, like all the way up, and then you get like into a tension mode, like every punch and kick, it's pure annihilation. This game is freaking amazing, and to me it's like really surprising how it's not really being brought up too much. Yeah, it's not as fast paced some other beat 'em ups. Maybe some people don't actually prefer it because of that, but really I feel it's a really good beat 'em up that can do the job for you. So that was pretty much my suggestions for you, with my hot pick being Return of Double Dragon. What did you think about it? If you ever get the chance, by the way, to play any of these games, just do so, especially Return of Double Dragon. Like, if you have a Super Nintendo, I think it's for a loose copy, I think it's somewhere around $10, if I remember correctly. Like, last time I checked, it was a while back, yeah, sure, but it wasn't so expensive. So yeah, go wild if you happen to find that. So those were my suggestions. What did you think about it? Have you played any of these games? Do you have any of your own suggestions? I will be glad to hear about your suggestions down in the comments. If you like what you've seen, please press like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. And as for me, I'll see you next time. Have a good one. So let me make my my thumbnail real quick.